Caroline Bradley stood quietly in her office, looking out at the tall buildings and bright city lights of New York through the large window. Her office was high up on the 38th floor of a big skyscraper in Manhattan. On her desk, everything was neat and organized. Piles of paperwork were stacked with colored tabs sticking out, each file placed just right. It showed how careful and detailed she was in everything she did. A gentle knock came at the door. Her secretary, Jennifer, walked in holding a folder. "Here are the documents for your 2 o'clock meeting with the Hopkins couple," she said politely. Caroline turned from the window with a warm smile. "Thank you, Jennifer," she replied in a calm voice as she took the folder from her. Her eyes were soft, and there was a kindness in the way she looked at people. Caroline was a senior financial advisor at Wells Fargo, and one of the best. She was trusted by many rich clients because of her sharp mind and honest way of doing business. She worked hard, stayed focused, and had earned the respect of her coworkers. She was the youngest senior manager in her team, something few people could say. But no matter how high she climbed in her job, it didn't help fix the problems in her family. In fact, the more successful she became, the more distant her family seemed to grow. Just then, her phone buzzed. It was a call from her younger sister, Amanda. Caroline stared at the screen for a second, then sighed and picked up the call. "Caro, I'm so glad you answered," Amanda said cheerfully. "I need a little help. The baby shower venue, the final payment is due today. Can I put it on your card?" Caroline closed her eyes and breathed out slowly. She had a feeling this was coming. Amanda had asked for money many times before. She was a weather presenter on a local TV station, well loved by her viewers for her pretty face and bubbly attitude. But when it came to money, Amanda was careless and loved to spend. Everyone in the family knew that. "Amanda," Caroline said gently, "I helped you with your credit card bill just last month. How much do you need now?" "Only $3,000, Amanda said, like it was no big deal. "I promise I'll pay you back next month. Please, this is my first baby. I want everything to be perfect." Caroline rubbed her forehead. She loved her sister, truly, but over the years, helping Amanda had turned from something occasional into something regular, like it was expected of her. "All right," Caroline said at last, "but this is the last time. Amanda, we really need to talk this weekend." "Yay, I love you, Caro, you're the best," Amanda squealed. "I'll tell Mom, she'll be so happy too." Caroline hung up and looked out the window again, her thoughts drifting to their mother, Judith. She pictured her mother's well-kept hair and smooth smile, so similar to Amanda's. From as far back as Caroline could remember, their mother had treated them differently. "Caroline, you're the big sister, you should help Amanda," her mother would always say. Caroline had heard that line her whole life. It didn't matter how old they were, Amanda was still the favorite, and Caroline was still the one expected to be responsible. She opened her banking app and checked the special account she had set aside for family emergencies. Even though the balance was still large, the list of past withdrawals was long, a quiet reminder of how often she had been asked to pay. Christmas dinners, her father's 60th birthday, their mother's big parties, Amanda's engagement and wedding. Caroline had quietly covered most of the costs. Each time, the same words had been used: "Because you're the big sister." Her father, Thomas, was a kind and quiet man. He had been a schoolteacher before he retired, and he hated conflict. He never stopped his wife or Amanda from taking advantage of Caroline. He either went along with it or looked away, pretending not to notice. "Dad, this isn't fair," Caroline had once said, hurt in her voice. Her father had only replied, "Caroline, families support one another. You've done well, so it's okay to help those who haven't." He meant no harm. He loved Caroline in his own way, but his silence, his unwillingness to stand up for her, hurt just the same. Back at her desk, Caroline began rearranging the files with her fingertips. To some, it might have looked like a simple habit, but for her, being organized wasn't just about work, it was her way of protecting herself. Since she was a child, her efforts and contributions had often been forgotten by her family, so she had started writing everything down, first in small notebooks, and later in carefully kept digital and paper records. At work, it made her one of the best. At home, it was a way to hold on to the truth, her truth. She glanced at her calendar. Amanda's baby shower was next week. Caroline already knew what kind of event it would be: big, flashy, probably over the top, planned mostly by Amanda and their mother. It would be full of decorations and expensive food, and the bills, they would quietly fall to her once again. As usual, Because she was the big sister. Just then, the intercom buzzed. It was Jennifer. The Hopkins couple is here in the lobby. Caroline straightened her back and took a deep breath. She put on a calm smile, the same one she always wore at work. Send them in, Jennifer, she replied. She stood up and fixed her blazer, smoothing the collar. No matter what happened in her personal life, Caroline Bradley always showed strength and poise. That was her greatest power, and sometimes, her greatest burden. Amanda and Judith looked confused. Caroline had stood up without warning, and now everyone's attention turned to her. She smiled politely, holding a small envelope in her hand. Before I give Amanda my real gift, Caroline began, her voice calm and clear, I'd like to say a few words about something more important than presents, our family. The room slowly quieted. People paused their conversations and turned toward her. Caroline's tone wasn't loud, but it had a seriousness that made people stop and listen. Even Amanda tilted her head slightly, sensing something unusual. I've always believed that family is about love, support, and helping one another, and as the older sister, I've done my best to live by that. She looked over at her father, Thomas, who shifted uncomfortably in his chair, his brow creased with worry. Caroline reached into her handbag and pulled out a black leather folder. Her fingers gently brushed over it before she opened it and looked down at the papers inside. I've always kept good records, she said softly, at work, yes, but also in my personal life, especially when it comes to money I've spent for our family. Judith suddenly stood up from her chair. Caroline, please, this isn't the time. No, Mom, Caroline said gently but firmly, this is the perfect time, everyone is here, it's time the truth was shared openly. She opened the folder and pulled out several sheets of paper, all neatly organized and labeled. In the past 5 years, I've spent more than $120,000 on family events alone. That includes Amanda's engagement party, her wedding, Mom's birthday, Dad's retirement dinner, and today's baby shower. Whispers moved through the room like a breeze through trees. Caroline turned another page and held up a credit card statement. But what's more troubling is the money spent without my knowledge or permission. She looked directly at Amanda. This is a $5,000 handbag bought at Barney's in New York. The purchase was made using my card on the same day I was away on a business trip in Boston. Amanda's face went pale. What are you talking about? Caroline didn't flinch. And Mom, she added, turning to Judith, this is a bill for a week at a luxury spa in Florida, $7,200, charged to my account. Judith's mouth opened, but no words came out. Caroline took out one last sheet and paused for a moment before speaking again. And the most shocking of all, someone opened a credit line in my name using my social security number, without telling me. The room was silent. Everyone now stared not just at Caroline, but at Amanda and Judith too. Father Thomas looked lost, glancing between his wife and daughter with confusion and sadness in his eyes. Amanda, Caroline said, setting a white envelope on the table, this is my real gift to you. Amanda picked up the envelope with shaking hands. It's a full report from my bank and lawyer, Caroline said. It outlines the fraud that's been done using my identity. I haven't gone to the police yet, because I wanted to give you both a chance to explain yourselves first. Amanda flipped through the documents inside. Her face turned even paler. Caro, this has to be a mistake. A mistake? Caroline raised an eyebrow. You think forging my signature was a mistake? Using my cards without telling me, was that also a mistake? Judith stepped forward. Caroline, stop this. You're embarrassing the family. Caroline's eyes narrowed. Embarrassing? You mean like seating me by the bathroom today with a sign that said, beware of strong odor, that kind of embarrassing? The room gasped. A few people exchanged awkward glances. Some avoided looking at Judith entirely. It was just a joke, Amanda muttered weakly. Yes, a joke, Caroline said, lifting her glass with a quiet, cold smile, and this is mine. She sipped her champagne and continued, her voice never losing its calm. The total amount misused, stolen, and spent using my name adds up to over $80,000, just in unauthorized transactions. That doesn't include the money I chose to spend to help this family. Then she looked around the room. You all have two choices, either sign a repayment plan by noon tomorrow, or I go to the police. Everyone froze. Judith and Amanda both looked like statues, pale and unmoving. Caroline gave a soft smile, full of sadness more than anger. I'm sorry, Amanda, I truly didn't want to ruin your baby shower, but I couldn't stay silent any longer. I'm your sister, that means something, but it doesn't mean being taken advantage of forever. Still, no one spoke. The air felt heavy, as if the truth had drained all color from the room. Judith finally broke the silence, her voice shaking. Caroline, you're misunderstanding. This was all just family helping family. Then why was it done in secret? Caroline asked. Why were my accounts used without permission? Why forge my name? She took out another set of papers. This is from Maplewood Bank. Someone opened a $50,000 line of credit in my name, but sent the bills to Amanda's apartment. Amanda covered her mouth with her hands. Caro, please. Rick's business failed. We were drowning in bills. We didn't know what to do. So you stole from me? Caroline asked softly. You couldn't just ask? Amanda shook her head. You wouldn't have understood. You're always so perfect, always so in control. Do you know how many times I've helped you without ever saying no? Caroline's voice cracked slightly. I paid for your parties, your celebrations. I never asked for anything back. And how did you thank me? By stealing my name? Judith suddenly spoke again. You're rich, Caroline. You can afford it. I'm rich, Caroline said slowly, because I worked hard, saved every dollar, and never asked for help. I lived simply while you threw parties with my money. The silence was louder now than ever before. Even the most talkative guests said nothing. I could go to the police today, Caroline said. I have every right to. Amanda committed fraud. She could go to jail. Amanda trembled. Caro, please, I'm pregnant. I know, Caroline said, more gently now. That's why I'm giving you this one chance. She pulled out the final sheet of paper and laid it in front of Amanda and Judith. This is a repayment plan, $887,000, paid over 5 years, no interest, no police, but all credit lines in my name must be closed immediately. Judith's lips trembled. We don't have that kind of money. Caroline stood tall. Then you'll need to figure something out. Her father slowly approached her. For the first time, there was deep regret in his eyes. Caroline. I didn't know. I believe you, Dad, she said gently, but you let it happen, you didn't stop it. Thomas lowered his head, ashamed. Amanda spoke in a small voice. What do you want from us now? Caroline looked at her for a long moment, then she spoke softly. Respect, honesty, that's all. I want to be treated like a person, not a bank account. She raised her glass one last time. $887,000, repayment, or the police. Then, slowly, she returned to her seat. She sipped her drink, calm and composed, as silence hung in the air like a storm cloud. And for the first time in years, everyone in the family finally saw Caroline, not just as the responsible sister, but as a woman who had been wronged, and who had finally found her voice.